Hi, this is Jim Duggar with Basis Technologies, and I'm joined today by David Leeds, our Chief Strategy Officer. Welcome to Dallas, Texas. Great to have you in the great state of Texas.
Thanks, Jim. It's great to be here.
And we're going to have a little bit of chat about S4 in particular. So, getting into this conversation, just tell me a little bit about your background and what you've been doing for a while.
Yeah, no worries. So I've been working in the SAP domain for over 20 years. From many different angles, all the way from initial implementations of R3 through operations and supporting the various SAP products, upgrades, and most recently, before I joined Basis, in the architecture area and the planning for the S4 transformation.
So you've really been in the practice of implementation and using SAP in general over the years. What brought you to Basis Technologies and how did you land here?
Well, I actually came via the route of a customer. So a couple of years ago, I was looking for the right solution to address some problems in the transition to S4. Came across the Active Control product, selected that, implemented it, and over the course of really the working relationship with Basis, got a really good sense of the team and the solutions and the potential. So decided to make the switch and jump across last year, 2019.
And glad to have you. Great that you're here, but that was not before you'd had plenty of experience doing a transformation project of your own, right?
Correct. So I was involved with both the original migration or upgrade from 4.5B to ECC 6. This is going back probably
more than
15 years.
Yeah.
And then more recently, the whole planning and assessment around the S4 migration, which was similar in some respects, but then also very different in others.
So S4 is, it's obviously on the edge of many minds in the SAP community, given the upcoming deadlines and 2025 and all of this. So, your organization had to go through an assessment of understanding how you were going to do it, what challenges you thought you would face. Then I'm sure you did a retrospective as you completed each portion of the project to understand, what were the outcomes in terms of benefits. What's some of the more memorable moments and components of that?
Like you say, I think going in with certain ideas which weren't necessarily, at the end of the day, how the plan finally materialized. So one of the key challenges in the organization that I was in before was around the amount of custom code that they were managing, and initially expected that S4 would be a great opportunity going greenfield and leaving behind all of this historical custom development.
And so what happened there? Yeah.
Well, in reality, a lot of the custom code that they still used was still relevant, even on S4, because the product, whilst it has evolved, whilst it looks better with Fiori, and whilst SAP has brought together a lot of the different components that were previously separate, there's still a lot of functionality that custom code had in it that was still required on top. So Greenfield would have wiped a lot of that out, and it would have needed to have been rebuilt effectively. So the end result was in that particular supply chain space to focus more on a hybrid scenario of transformation to S4.
So how did you manage, continuing to support production? I'm assuming this didn't happen over a couple of months. So how did you manage to continue to support production while at the same time working on all of this custom code as in migration? I'm sure it had some changes moving into S4. Tell us a little bit about the approach that you used to solve for that.
Sure, and that was originally why I came across Active Control, and that was really helping in managing the in-flight, the portfolio of projects that the business required, whilst at the same time managing this parallel new landscape and making sure that the changes were consistently aligned between those two systems, the live one and the one that was being built up.
So you were able to keep them concurrent and keep the same work in both places?
Yeah, exactly. Without having a moratorium, without stopping change and having a change freeze, that was one of the key requirements to continue to operate the business and to continue to kind of manage what can't stop, the ongoing needs of the business as it lives and as it evolves.
So another thing that I hear a lot of in my own work in the field is the attitude of DevOps playing a role in SAP. It's hard to do well, but I think people are very interested in the benefits that they've seen from other software projects within the organization. Did that play a role for you?
I think, as you say, SAP is kind of late to the party to some extent in terms of DevOps, but people are waking up and realizing that more is possible. So especially as the company I was with was looking at the future of their application development, they wanted to really try and embrace as much of that new capability, what's possible in the Agile and DevOps sense, and make sure that that was baked into their tooling and baked into their processes from day one on their S4 landscapes. It's a lot harder to try and bring this in retrospectively into a landscape that's kind of been up and running for 10, 15, 20 years. But it's an opportunity really not to be missed when you're starting out with your landscape for S4, which will in theory be around for another 10, 15 years.
Absolutely. Do you have any key advice that you would offer someone that's facing the projects you faced, custom code, large landscape, migration to S4? Is there a golden nugget in all of this?
Well, I've recently published a series of blog posts that are available on our website that talk about some of the key considerations when moving to S4. There isn't a one-size-fits-all, and it could even be for one organization that for some of their existing landscapes, they do go greenfield. For others, they may go brownfield. For others, they may go hybrid. So it could be a mixture that makes sense for them in aggregate as an organization. Secondly is really to kind of understand their custom code and whether or not that needs to be an integral part of their approach as to how much cleanup do they do, how much do they retain, how do they remediate that. And obviously the third one, going back to what we were talking about before, really how do you intend to manage change while transitioning and really keep that in control, manage the risk of that, but also not restrict the business to kind of close down what they want to do during that transition period, which for many businesses can be a multi-year transformation.
As it was for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I want to thank you very much for your time today. Some great key advice and some great insight into S4. Thank you for watching as well, and join us here in the future for future videos. Really appreciate the time. This is Jim Duggar signing off from Basis Technologies here in Dallas, Texas.